Hello. Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me. I know this is a funny get up, but I want you to be able to hear my voice very well. So I have to resort to using my headset for my meetings. Okay. So how are you guys? Thank you for joining this live watercolor class. It's my first time to do live here in YouTube. So we are going to paint Stargazer Lily. This is the reference photo that I sent out in my IG stories. So if you haven't seen that, I hope that you can go and grab it. I also sent the draw it in advance because we're going to get started with painting this later on. So I don't know if my setup is okay. Um, so I have my laptop here. I chose to use the webcam in my laptop because it's really nice. And then I'm just looking at whatever it is that uh, I can see here in my YouTube. So hopefully that is gonna work. So I decided to do this. So because I know that um, we're all locked away in our home, and I wanted to um, make sure that we're all keeping safe and keeping sane. So that's why I decided to do this live class to give you something to do. Let's set aside the difficult situation that we're all experiencing in the world at the moment, and let's just do some art maybe for an hour or so. Okay. Um, hold on. I have a question here. What size of the brush can we use? You can use medium size brush. So I'm gonna use my size 8 Van Gogh brush. So if you have something moved, but this is I think a size 6. So that one will work if you have those kinds of brushes. So we're mainly gonna use round brush. So I don't if you have flat brush, it's going to be a little difficult because the flower is it's going to be hard for you to control where you're going to paint if you're going to use a flat brush, but up to you. So let me just see for the live class, but I could not find it. Oh else. I'm going to send it to myself in the meantime. So let me know, guys. What have you been to my office mates that are here? Thank you for supporting me. I hope I did not force you to just watch. And it's finally 3 o'clock. All right. Okay. Again, hello everyone. Today we're going to paint a Stargazer Lily in watercolor. So if you haven't started on your drawing, you still have the time to grab it, or you can grab any photo of a Stargazer Lily in Google and then draw it because we're going to start painting in a bit. So yes, Leslie. Hey girl, I can see you. Thank you again to my office mates that's supporting me and to my friends as well. So they know I needed support because I've never done something like this. So we now have 25 people that's watching this live stream. So thank you all, and get your materials ready because we're going to start. We're going to start very soon. Important. I'm currently using Arch. This is Canson Arch 300 GSM. But if you guys have a 100 GSM or that, I won't waste it. So this is like a commission piece, but I decided to scrap it and do something else. So never mind. So let's use this so that we won't waste the paper. Okay. And then we are going to use brushes. So during the start of the live stream, people have already asked me what kind of brushes I'm going to use. I'm going to use round brushes. They are size 8 and a size 6. So they're mostly just a medium sized brush, so enough for me to paint and do wet on wet, and also good enough. It's pointy enough for detail. But if you have a detail brush that's smaller, thinner, that will be also fine to use later on. But you're gonna need like a round brush that's medium sized to get enough water and paint. So that's that. Um, I know I said we're gonna need pencil, but if you already started on your drawing and you're done with drawing, then you won't need pencils anymore. But if you haven't, then you're gonna need your pencil to draw first the Stargazer Lily. But I've already done that. We're not gonna do the pencil anymore. We're gonna need a jar of water, and you're gonna need your reference photo. It's a beautiful photo, and your watercolor palette. So choose your watercolor palette if you have them at home. It can be a beginner grade, artist grade. So for me, I chose to use the Winsor and Newton, which is my favorite one. Um, so this has the complete colors that I'm gonna use, so we won't have a hard time picking out the colors. And um, I'm quite used to using this palette, so I know which colors is gonna work. So there you go. Let's get started. Shall we get started? Are you all ready? So I'm going to mention the colors that we're gonna use, or at least what are the shades, if I can remember them when we get started on painting. So first off, I have another scratch paper here. Let me just put aside the drawing because I want us to uh, do the basic diffusing, which is the I think the most used technique that I do when I paint my florals. We're going to use. So this is not yet the Stargazer Lily, so you don't have to worry about what kind of paint. So just grab a paint that you like. So I'm going to assume that maybe some of you are beginners here. So that's why I'm going to zoom in, and grab a color. So for example, me, I'm grabbing this beautiful blue color. So I'm dipping my brush in water, grabbing water, and then just grabbing the pigment and putting it here in my mixing area. Okay. So this is the paper. So what I want you to do, this is something you have to master before we, dive into the work. We don't want to do the practice work in our drawing. We worked hard on that. So I'm going to press the brush. Then after pressing, rinse. I'm rinsing the brush. So once I rinsed it, remember you have paper towels, dab a bit of the water there. And that's what we're trying to avoid here. Okay, let me repeat what I did. So the first brush that I'm gonna use, it's going to be very dark. There. Rinse it. Rinse your brush. Remember to dab it on the paper towel so that's not a lot of water. And then you're pushing the pigment, pushing it. And here you can see it's getting lighter. If you want to make it even light, see the gradient that we are doing. There you go. So I want you to practice that. I'm going to try a different color. This is the color that we are going to use for the Stargazer later on. And that's this beautiful, it's called the Permanent Rose. It's a beautiful bright pink color. See that? That's the center of the Stargazer. Again. So clean your brush, dab it on the paper towel, very edge, diffuse it. See that? It goes from dark to the lightest shade. Okay. So now we'll try mixing two colors. So again, going to grab the pink color. I didn't add a lot of color, so that's pink. And then clean my brush. So now it's clean. I'm gonna add yellow. It's a beautiful yellow. So instead of using just plain water to diffuse it, now I'm gonna add yellow. So you can see there's a hint of yellow now when you're diffusing the bright pink, the permanent rose. See that? So I hope you were able to get this diffusing technique that I do, which I usually use for my floral works. And once you're okay with that, you've practiced it, we on our final work. So let's get to that. So let me see how I'm gonna position my paper. Okay. So a Stargazer Lily, again. Hello. Let me just show you the Stargazer Lily that we are going to paint. We are going to start at the very center. So the dark pink that we are going to do will be painted first in the very center, and then it diffuses out until the tip of the petal. So that's what we're gonna do. So again, I am grabbing, trying to angle this. There you go. I hope that you can see it very, very clearly. There. I'm grabbing my permanent rose. And then start in the center. See that. Then clean my brush. And then slowly diffuse this out until you reach the tip. We want this. So I'm not painting until the very edge because in our reference, the edge is actually pretty clean. It's actually kind of white. So we don't want to ruin that. Just leave it white. So the darkest or the brightest pink is at the very center. So that's what we are going to do for each of the petals. So I'm going to repeat that here. So these we can see some of the detail of the flower. So make sure you slowly paint around it That's why it's always important to have your brush a bit pointy. Okay. So there, again, I'm cleaning my brush. So you're gonna repeat that. And diffuse it. So I am pulling the pigment from the center to the very edge. There you go. You can see that. So I'm gonna tilt the painting this way so that you can, I mean, see it in this angle. So again, paint the brightest pink in the center like this, and don't paint the sides. It's like you have an invisible margin there. And again, with my brush that's clean, we are gonna paint this. We are moving the bright pink pigment until the very, very edge. So there you go. I hope that you're able to follow. We have one, two, three more. So this is a good practice for us. So there's three more petals to do the same technique. Actually, once you get this, you can paint a lot of flowers already. Making sure that if you have any questions, feel free to chat it so that I can explain or answer. So the same thing here. Sometimes I get confused if this is a leaf or part of the petal, but I'm sure this one is a petal. I hope that you're able to follow it. So this again, I am diffusing. So it really helps if your paint is very bright and pigmented so that when we diffuse it, there's still a hint of the pink left. So the last one, so again, here you go. Ooh, ooh. Trying to be very, very careful not to turn the entire petal pink. There you go. If somehow you put in like too much pigment, remember you can use your paper towel to dab it while it's still wet to lift the paint, and hopefully you can start over. And it's no longer like it's not cold to the touch. It means it's already dry. So when it's dry, I'm going to go over again, go over the center part, and again do the diffusing. And this time, I'm not going to diffuse until the very, very end. 'Cause I just want the center to be like really, really vibrant pink. So there. So painting is watercolor is a lot about layers. So it's mostly waiting for areas to dry and then going over it. So in this case, I'm going over the center because I want it to be like really bright, but I don't want it to move until the edge because I'm quite happy with the lightness here at the very tip. There you go. Okay, just a bit more. Okay, it's actually pretty tricky to paint here because there's a lot of details that we have to skip, but that's all right. Usually, when I paint my florals and then I have to wait for it to dry, I will paint the leaves. So here, just painting the edge so that we don't forget. There you go. You can see that the petals with my second layer of pink are a lot brighter. So that's what we want. So this is the last one. I'm gonna paint this. Make it super bright. All right. Okay. I think we're happy with that. Now we're going to move on to painting the what is it? The leaves. Okay. For the leaves, mostly I do just a flat painting of green. This time I'm going to choose this color. This is the olive green. So I think that's going to work really nicely with the pink here. So I'm painting with the olive green. So there's nothing fancy with the way I paint my green. It's just all all green. So paint. Be careful to not to hit the the stargazer. We just want the leaves painted. So this is just a flat color of green. Even the stems, we are painting it in olive green. If you don't have olive green, one of the greens that I like using is called the sap green. It's by Sinelier. And another one is called Hooker's Green, also by Sinelier. So I happen to like the greens by the Sinelier brand, which you can, I think, buy in Art Nebula. They have that. It's beautiful. It's yellowish, and it's also very pigmented. This one's also very pretty. I have another green here in this palette, but for some reason I could not like remove them. So I could not see what's the name of the other green that's beside it. The third one in this Newton palette is called the Viridian, which is actually also nice if you want a green that's a little more muted. And this one, the last, the other leaf here. After we do the leaves, I'm going to talk about how we're going to do this. This is actually a stargazer bud. So I'm going to tell you how we are going to paint that. And that will be another diffusing painting technique. So let's do that. We'll paint first the green so that we can have it dry already. So this is another one. There's another leaf here. Oh, I hope this is a leaf. I don't think this is a bud. Sometimes it's also quite confusing. But like what I always tell my student, you have to paint as if you mean every stroke. So if this is a bud that I painted into a leaf, we're gonna go with that. It's all right. Okay, so there you have it. So far, this is what we got. We've painted the petals and we've painted the leaves. And now we're waiting for it to dry. Now we're gonna paint this one, which is one of the buds, an unopened Stargazer Lily. I actually like painting this. We are gonna use the same green and starting in the tip, clean your brush and diffuse it. See that? At the stem, this is going to be green. So this is a stargazer that hasn't bloomed. Yeah. I actually chose the stargazer because it's one of the flowers that you can find here in the Philippines. It's very common. Here. So that should be where we are. So I hope you can follow. You are already here with me. We have painted the leaves, we've painted the flower. Um, to answer some questions in the chat, Janella asks, which brush do you prefer, synthetic or natural hair? Uh, I'm not very particular with the brush if it's synthetic or natural. I've used both. Right now, I'm actually using a synthetic one, but I have also here a natural Kolinsky brush. So as long as it works with me, I'm completely fine. Whatever brush. Um, if I can't afford the brush, I would go with a synthetic. That's really fine. So now we are going to paint a little of the details here. I'm going to use this yellow. I hope I can see what is the shade. Hold on. Let me check that out. Ah, Aureolin. I think that's one of my favorite yellow. I have that same shade in Holbein and it's super nice. It's very very bright and transparent as well. So I'm going to grab that Aureolin color. Aureolin. Is that how you pronounce it? And we are going to paint the tiny heads of this stargazer. There you go. Even the antennas. So now you have it there. It's to make our stargazer look more like alive, we need to add a few more values to it. So what I'm gonna do is gonna grab a bit of the Payne's Gray. In this palette, you have the Payne's Gray. It's very, very beautiful. It's a neutral color for me. So we're gonna grab that. And we are gonna grab a bit of the pink that we use early on. And we are going to put that here, the very center. I know it's bleeding with the yellow, but that's really fine. Just add a bit, and then again, you're gonna want to diffuse that because it's like you put in just the right amount of shadow. So we want the shadow to be very soft there. So now it feels like there's depth in that area. Same here, the very center. Mhm. So again, I'm diffusing the Payne's Gray and Permanent Rose combination that I put in. So now it looks more like a real flower. And then using the yellow that we used a while ago, I'm gonna put that at the top, at the very tip of the flower. So here again, you would want to diffuse that. So why did I add that? It's to help um, the viewer when they look at the flower. Doesn't seem very flat because the yellow will attract people's eyes. So so that's actually the purpose of it. So there. It's because you don't want it to look like it's stark white. So here I'm adding yellow at the top. So let's have a look. There you go. So you don't have to follow the reference too much. There. So I've added a hint of yellow to the white spaces that I told you not to paint. That way it looks like it has like a color. It's not just totally white. So moving back, since this flower is currently wet, we're moving back to the unopened flower. Again, take your pink, the pink that we used, and just very, very carefully dab a bit at the very top, very tip of this bud. And you're gonna want to diffuse that. So that's how we draw a bud. So it's super cute. This is how a bud will look like when it's unopened and it's waiting for just the right time to bloom. I'm also putting a bit here at the very bottom just to give it a little bit more color. There. So using the paints gray, ooh, the paints gray now. How do I make gray? So if you don't have paints gray, I would suggest you mix a blue and a brown and get somewhere in a neutral of warm and cool tone. So if you don't have that, then you can go ahead and use black. I usually avoid black, but you can if there's really nothing in your palette that would be able to make a more neutral shade. So I am now just adding a bit of detailing here. So I'm just using one brush for everything, which I usually do for my paintings. I don't switch brushes a lot. So I'm using the very, very tip of this brush to just get into the small detail, the little stems here. There you go. So I think that looks fine. At least they look separated from one another. I'm going to take again the paint spray and go over a bit for the leaves. So I'm just adding a little bit of shadow here so it doesn't look very flat. I don't normally paint a lot of details on my leaves. I just want them to look like they have shadows and not a super flat green there. So I'm gonna just add a bit of more color here. Here I'm definitely adding more of the paint's gray because this leaf is sitting below this lovely flower, so it's definitely casting a shadow. So there. Again, you have to remember to diffuse it. If you add a shade, especially something as strong as Payne's gray, and if you use black, you definitely have to diffuse it. So I'm adding it here, adding it here. So you can see that the green now looks a lot different than the first one that we applied. Has more depth and value. It's like the flower is coming alive. So here I'm adding also a bit of Payne's gray here and also here. Remember to diffuse. So again, clean your brush and then pick up the color and move it, move it, move it. There. Yes, you can also make gray by combining the opposite color. So red, green, blue, orange, purple, yellow. You can do that. Okay, so this is so far our Stargazer. I hope that you were able to follow it. We are still not done. There's still a bit more detail that we are going to do to make this a lot nicer. One of the last things I'm going to do is grabbing again the permanent rose or the pink that you have and create the little dots that is found in the reference. I think this is my favorite step. See that? I'm just gonna dot 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 dot. So a lot dots in the center and then just tiny bit of dots there. Oh, there you go. Dot dot dot. So we are in the final leg of our painting of the Stargazer. Just more dots. Don't they make the flower look so much more alive? There you go. Dot dot dot. So I'm always painting in different areas. So when I'm waiting for example, the flower to dry, I'm painting the leaves. If I'm waiting for the leaves to dry, I'm gonna paint the flower again. So that way, I'm not I'm not making an area bleed by just layering a lot of wet colors. So you really have to wait for some areas to dry before you can effectively layer another color. So Watercolor is really also about patience. So you need to know when you are going to add another color and when you are going to stop, wait for it. Sometimes I even have to just like stop painting altogether and wait for a few days, a few weeks even, to see if I like how the painting looks like. Sometimes when you keep when you keep on painting and painting, it doesn't feel right anymore. And that's when I try to take a break and just do something else. And after a while I come back to it and I like what I did. I just needed some time to take a break. Here you go. Oh, it's lovely. Very lovely. Um Someone asked, "Where are you from?" I'm from the Philippines. I'm from the Philippines. It's currently summer here and it's super duper hot. And for this live stream, I had to open the air conditioning so that, I won't expire from the heat. Okay. How is our Stargazer looking? It looks all right on my end. Okay. For this bud, we are going to add a little bit of veins just to give a little more detail for it. So remember, when you're doing the veins, use a detail brush or a brush with a pointy tip and be very, very careful. You're only using just very light shade here. Make sure that you've dab your brush on a paper towel so that it doesn't contain a lot of water, because you don't want to be doing a detail and then once your brush hit the paper and then there's a big blob of water. So we don't want that. And when you're doing like the veins of the flower, make sure you follow the shape of the flower. So for example, here I'm going that way because that's how this bud, this flower bud is shaped. So we don't want it to look it like it's coming from different directions, okay? So same thing here. We will follow, but I think the pink will work better for this petal. So again, very, very lightly. I really enjoy this part. And whenever I do this, I know I'm about to be finished. So there. Hmm. Doesn't it make the painting look more alive? So I'm just following the shape, and it doesn't have to be like a totally straight line. So you would want to pause, lift your brush, and then keep drawing. Very lightly. If you're not confident with doing the thin strokes, I suggest you practice first before you put it on your final work. So practice your very, very thin strokes. Hello to everyone that has joined. Thank you all for joining my first ever live stream watercolor class. I didn't actually plan to have any class this summer, but my thinking that we all need this. We all need something to do while we are on a lockdown, and this is something we can all just keep sane, can keep doing. And I hope that this short session will help you out to give you something to do, keep your mind off, anxiety or worries, even just for like an hour. There you. Have I forgotten anything? And here comes the part where I cannot help but keep fixing things. Oh, right. Isn't it funny when you paint and then you just can't help but, keep adding stuff? Hold on. I'll be all right. I just need to fix a few more things. All right, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough, Carla. Okay. Hello. It's my face again. But thank you all. This is our final artwork, the Stargazer Lily, which I taught you how to paint in this live class. I think after this live, it will stay here in YouTube. I hope it does stay in YouTube so that the other people that didn't have the time to um, do this step by step will be able to rewind, do it again. And if you're not satisfied with your work, that's totally fine. You can try it another day, use a different paper, and keep on trying until you get to where you are most satisfied with. So again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you picked up a few techniques, and this session has helped you, I guess, take your worries away for even just a while. I hope that you keep safe. If you're able to, to donate to help other people in this time of crisis. I hope you do. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, give it a thumbs up. Um, and if you're done with your work and you would like for me to see it, please share it, tag me, post it in IG, and I would love to see it, to share, and to like what you have done. So, thank you so much again. And I hope to see you again in another maybe live class in the future. So I'll end this stream now. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions on what we did. See you again soon. Bye.